Yes.
Week 10 for the NFL is upon us. Before we get into NFL stuff, though, we do have the total for our records picking these NFL games. Uh, because he missed a couple weeks there, or a couple weeks more than the rest of us did. Will is at the bottom at 37 and 33.
He broke 500.
Yeah. Chris is in third at 67 and 50. Paulo, you are 71 and 46, and I am 73 and 44.
Wow.
All right. Talk about some college stuff here, Chris. I know you're happy after last weekend.
Yes. What
Sadly,
a
I cannot
glorious
say the same.
victory.
Uh,
Speaking of the LSU Bama game, that was just highway robbery how Bama treated y'all in that game. Like,
I knew it was over as soon as we lost Jaden Daniels in the early bits of the fourth quarter. After that, I didn't think we were going to keep up, and I was right. I'm perfectly fine with it. I I'm used to it at this point. But y'all did manage to beat Texas A&M, and this week the big notable game is Ole Miss and Georgia.
yes, and I shall briefly describe the scenario that Ole Miss has got themselves into. So, because no thanks to Bama, they'll likely win the SEC West unless they somehow drop two SEC games, which I don't see happening. But that's not the point. Point is, Ole Miss has an opportunity to potentially cause havoc in the college football playoff. Right now, they're currently ranked number 9. But if we find a way to beat Georgia, which is a very tall task right now, and I know that we probably have a very low chance, but the way our team has played, I feel good. I feel confident. But of course, we have to play our A game. Our offense has got to be on point. Our defense has got to find a way to slow them down. Everybody has to be on deck. So, with that being said, if we win this Saturday, then Ole Miss's chance for the college football playoff remains alive. Of course, we would need help from other teams like Texas, Oregon, Bama. Pretty much everybody that's above us, they need to start losing games. That would be hard to do because some teams are playing cupcake teams or they're playing a weaker division opponent. It gives
The
at this
way it
point. So
sounds is like most Ole Miss fans right now are like that one meme of, I think it's Jim Carrey. So you're saying there's a chance.
yes,
It's
very
exactly how it
much.
looks.
Right now, we're riding on hope and confidence, and the way our team has been playing, I am very proud of this team. In fact, this is honestly one of my favorite Ole Miss Rebel squad that I've seen in recent memory. And I'm gonna ride high with it. Even if we take an L this weekend, I hope we don't. But if we do, then I won't be upset about it. I would say we played really well. We played hard. Let's go on and beat the crap out of Mississippi State in 2 weeks.
All right. And I think before we move on to the NFL stuff, there's one more thing we got to mention. The World Series. Uh, Congratulations to the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
That's right. The true team of Texas has finally won a World Series without cheating.
Oh, shut up. I don't want to hear that.
We won it in
Add a-
true fashion. Started from the bottom.
Disgusting.
And that leaves, out of all the teams in Texas, the Texans are the only ones to not win a championship. Rip to Houston Texans. Let's see here. First up for the week, Thursday night, Panthers Bears. This is again, why are the Bears seemingly always in prime time, or bad teams at least? I don't think the Panthers should win this. Do we know if Justin Fields is going to be back at quarterback this week?
I don't think so.
He's
actually
doubtful.
out. He's actually out. They announced that earlier.
Still, though, I don't know if I can take the Panthers in this. Not the way they played the past few weeks. Yeah, they got their one win against the Texans, but I believe that was sort of a trap game for the Texans after they had been doing so well and coming off a bye week. I think they might have been, a little full of themselves before that bye week. Thought they didn't have to work as hard. Uh, I gotta take the Bears in this one by, I want to say, a touchdown, but it'll probably be like a field goal.
Yeah, I'll
Uh,
also take the Bears in this. I don't believe in the Panthers. Um, the Bears without Justin Fields are still like not that much worse. Like they put up a good fight against us this past week. So yeah, I'll take the Bears. It's not gonna it's good. It'll be a close game, but I think the Bears will squeak out a win.
One thing to mention with the Bears, though, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Cole Kmet is questionable for this week, so I'm not sure if he's playing. And he is one of their favorite targets. I'd have to double check though. Last I saw, I think he was questionable.
No, he's healthy. I'm looking at it
Uh,
now.
I was looking at it this morning and said he was questionable. I guess they took him off after the practice today.
I guess.
Uh, Will, Chris, your thoughts?
yeah, I'm gonna choose the Bears, and just based off how I saw them play against the Saints this past week, and I was at the game to be present for. If Baguette, whatever that rookie quarterback's
Agent.
name is, yeah, Bajan, thank you. I keep calling him Baguette for some reason. But anyway, so the way I saw him play against the Saints last week, I was pretty impressed. Like he can move the ball with his legs. He can throw the ball efficiently when he's not throwing the ball away. Of course, it's like he's got potential, but again, he's a rookie quarterback. He's going to make his mistakes, and what better way to correct those mistakes than against a really pathetic Panthers team? So I'm going to take the Bears in this matchup. I think maybe Bajent will. Now, I'm not going to say he's going to go off. I think he's going to have a better game than he did last week against the Saints, and I'm going to have them winning by at least 3 in this matchup.
This leaves Will.
Yeah, I think it'll be a close game. You got two rookie quarterbacks, but Tyson has been playing, I feel like, better than Bryce. I think the Texans game was a fluke. Coming off of a bye week against the Panthers. I do have a little bit more faith in Tyson over watching like the last few games, especially if Komet's healthy. Darnell Mooney's been doing really well. He's been targeted at least 4 to 7 times a game, and he's been producing really well for Tyson. So I think they win by a touchdown.
All right.
And I believe Khalil Herbert is back from IR, I believe, this week. So they get their starting running back back.
I think we're all in agreement though that it should be the Bears in this one. Next up, early morning game Sunday. I believe this one's from Germany as well, just like last week. Colts Patriots, and I think this one should be the Colts. Their offense has been doing better than expected without their starting quarterback, and the Patriots just aren't good. They're just not. How the mighty have fallen since Brady left.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Y'all are good.
I was just agreeing with Jose. Yeah, the Patriots just are just dumpster fire right now, and who they play last week? I forgot who they played last week. But anyway, last week they almost could have made a comeback, but they failed. Mac Jones is just garbage. nothing's just going right for the Patriots. I mean, what else is there to really say about this team? Honestly, I could easily see the Colts offense, which is light years better than the Patriots. Maybe not like compared to the Eagles or Chiefs or anything like that, but compared to the Patriots, they're light years better. So I feel that this is going to be a blowout win for the Colts, and the Colts are going to win by at least 10 points at the most.
I'm gonna agree. It's gonna be the Colts. The Patriots are kind of like, I don't know. The Patriots they're not good. They're not the worst team in football every week, but sometimes they are.
Mm-hmm.
And the Colts have, yeah, all season they've been performing higher than what we anticipated, whether it was with Richardson or Minshew. And then the Colts kept it interesting when they played us. And then they almost beat the Browns a few weeks ago. So I don't know. I feel like the Colts can get this win. I'll give it like 3 to 7 points, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, I just don't see the Patriots winning this in any way, shape, or form, especially after losing their wide receiver one, I believe, was Kendrick Bourne.
Yeah, yep.
So are we all in agreement here that it's the Colts for this one?
Yes.
Although I
If
don't know
Will
if
agrees.
I don't know if Will said anything. I'm gonna write this stuff down so I don't, have to go listening back through hours of our recordings to get our picks compared to the the winners and losers of the games of the week. Is Will here?
Good question.
Yeah.
Maybe he went to get his Chick-fil-A.
Oh God. Oh, I'm gonna jot this down real quick. Follow this. All right, and I'll get Will when he comes back. Next up, Saints Vikings. Oh boy.
This is a
Uh,
tough one.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, after watching Joshua Dobbs, after he was just traded by Arizona, he wasn't even expected to start, but then the backup quarterback for the Vikings goes down, and he's just thrown out there, barely knows the playbook, and he absolutely lights up Atlanta. It's just like, oh boy, wow, okay, so this is who we got to deal with this Sunday. Yikes!
Though
So
it should be mentioned, Cam Akers is gone. I believe they placed him on IR today.
Yeah.
I believe also is it KJ Osborne, I think, is in concussion
It's
protocol,
concussion protocol. Yeah.
as well as one of their best defensive players. So they're without a few of their starters. I think honestly this one's going to be a close one because, like we've said, the Vikings defense isn't amazing. It's gotten better. It's to the point where it's serviceable, but it's nothing amazing like the top defenses in the league. I think this one's gonna be a close one. Is this one in New Orleans or is it in Minnesota?
in Minnesota, that's
Mm,
and the Saints haven't done so great on the road. Late in actually, they haven't done good on the road. Period.
uh,
So
I'm
I feel like
I'm gonna have to
go
take
ahead.
the Saints by 3 in this one. I think this one's gonna come down to a field goal.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that because last season when the Saints played the Vikings in London, they played. The Vikings more or less had about the same players except for like the rookies they have now. But with that being said, it was really close. It came down to a game-winning field goal, which Will Lutz last season missed by a hair. So it would not surprise me if the Saints once again come make it close with the Vikings, because the thing with this matchup is that these two have a history, and we all know the history. I mean, if you date it back way in the '90s when the Vikings would beat the crap out of us, and then the magical Saints 2009 Super Bowl run where we beat him by a game-winning field goal. We all know how that was. Brett Favre goes down, etc. Then you had the Minneapolis Miracle. good lord, this team has history. So, and the history shows that these two teams just go at it. It's like they're a division rival, but not a divisional rival. So, it would not surprise me if this game goes either way. But I'm going to take the Saints in this matchup. I don't think the Vikings defense is good enough to slow us down, despite all offensive woes. And I feel that the Vikings offense might struggle against passing the ball against Paulson Adebo and Marshawn Lattimore. So give me the Saints by 3, but I think this could be one of the higher scoring games of the week.
I'll also take the Saints. And I'm not like super confident because Josh Dobbs has been playing well, but I don't know if y'all know this, but TJ Hawkinson also has a rib or oblique injury. Now he's expected to play, but he probably won't be 100%, so that could be a factor.
Yeah, so he probably won't
And
be on a
then
full snap count then.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then also, as good as Dobbs has been playing, he has at least one fumble every week since week 3. Not all of those are fumbles lost, but for a defense that's been getting as many turnovers as we have, that could be detrimental for them if that
Yeah.
happens at the wrong time.
Yeah,
And is Will still gone?
I think he is.
In the meantime, we will move on. Browns Ravens. I think this one on paper should be obvious, but I don't know. The Browns have surprised us a few times this year so far.
Yeah. Considering this is a divisional opponent, a divisional matchup, that is, this game could go either way. And the Ravens and Browns, they have gone at it in the last couple years, no matter how good or bad each team has been. And lately, the Browns have been surprisingly been decent, and the Ravens have started to turn a corner all of a sudden. So, but I feel like I just feel like the Ravens defense has played a lot better recently, and the Browns have been able to do their thing. But I feel like the Ravens defense is just going to be too much for the Browns to handle, especially on the offensive side of things. So, but I'm going to keep this game close. I feel that the Lamar Jackson is going to light up the Browns defense in this one, and this I had the Ravens up by 7 in this matchup.
Yeah, I think the same.
Yeah, I'll also take the Ravens. The Browns have been surprisingly good all year, except for maybe like week 1 or 2 or whenever they didn't look so great. But for all that can be said about Deshaun Watson, him and Amari Cooper seem to have been getting their stride going a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I really think that the Ravens are going to be a playoff team, and if I'm right about that, then I have to pick the Ravens. Like the Browns are a good team, but the Ravens have looked dominant against like Detroit and Seattle, who are other teams that people consider to be playoff teams or playoff hopefuls. So I don't know. I feel like the Ravens will seal the deal and show people that those weren't flukes this week.
Yeah, Ravens, like I said, on paper they should win, but who knows? The Browns could surprise us again.
Yeah. I mean, their defense is good.
There's
The
Will.
Browns are kind of sneaky good.
I saw your name light up. Don't hide. You missed like 3, Will. I saw him unmute, and now he's gone again.
I heard him
swear.
breathe once, and now he's gone.
No,
Yes.
I'm here. She was the wife was asking a question. Jose does not understand that.
Oh, hush.
So
Will is eating the Chick-fil-A.
Technically, you're the only one that understands that.
right. So Colts, Patriots,
yeah.
Colts.
Alright.
Even though it's in Germany, don't have much faith in the Patriots at all. At whatsoever. Mac Jones terrible.
Saints,
Zeke
Vikings.
terrible. Ramondre Stevenson terrible. Everybody's bad.
Garbage.
Oh. Man, the way Carr is playing, and really the offense, I want to say Saints. But at the same time, I mean, we saw Josh Dobbs come in. His press conference didn't know half their names, didn't practice. didn't nothing with them, didn't know their playbook really, and comes in and leads a comeback victory. Yes, it's against Atlanta, but the fact is, you come back, you beat Atlanta, which they're known for choking on games, 28-3, right?
Yes.
So, and it's in Minnesota at this time of the year as well is the thing.
But what you have
But
to take into account, Will, is they're also missing a few key components.
they are. Jettis is off of IR, but he most likely won't play.
No.
They're activating him. They said he's not going to play.
No Cam Akers.
No Cam Akers, but Alexander Madison was doing the workload before Cam came around, so we can't just say, "Oh, no Cam Akers, there's no run game."
Yeah.
When Madison
The
was
big
doing it
one-
before.
The big one is though no Osborne. So you got Addison and then a bruised TJ Hawkinson, and who else is
Yep.
catching?
Yeah. No, I mean it's 100% true. But then you have a healthy Saints team, who's coming off of a win. Looked a little bit better than they had been in the past few games. But I'm gonna go ahead and say if Big Kirko was in, I would go Vikings all day. But like Paulo pointed out, you got two weapons and one of them's hurt. So I'm gonna say Saints. Saints by a touchdown. I'm not gonna give them much more than that. And Cleveland and Baltimore. Divisional game. It's going to be good because they're both playing good. Deshaun's back. Still doesn't look like himself from when he was with Houston. Don't know what if it's a personal thing or something internally or if something is truly wrong.
He's too tense. He needs to go get a massage. He hasn't been able to.
They have him on a watch list. But that defense is carrying that team by all means. I mean, Amari had a super big game this past weekend, but can you count on that consistently is the thing. The defense is what's holding that team over. But then you look at Baltimore, and Baltimore looks good on both sides of the ball, defense and offense. They're holding teams. The Detroit Lions were supposed to be one of the top 3 teams in the NFC, top 5 to some people, and they got held to 3 points against them a couple weeks ago. So, and with it being a home game for Baltimore, I think that just adds to it. Lamar's looking good. He's not going to hit that 5,000-6,000 passing mark like he thought he was. Running back game is a little backfield's a little rough for him. But I still think Baltimore wins, and I think they only win by a field goal, honestly. I think it'll be that close. I think with it being a divisional game and the way they're both playing, I think it's nothing more than a field goal.
All right, then. And before we move on to the next one, Will, I want to mention your mic's popping a little bit. All right. Next up is a game that I think this is the one I'm most looking forward to this week. Texans Bengals. These are both pretty good teams right now. Like we all saw what happened with the Texans this past week going against the Buccaneers. CJ Stroud proving that he should be, in my opinion, Rookie of the Year.
Shall we proceed to roast Will for being the doubter of that week?
The only one who didn't pick the Texans, and he's the one who lives in Houston.
Hey, it's true. It's true. But you don't always have to side with your team. If 100% of the time, you can have faith in them. But if that other team they're playing against is a much better team, I mean, there's a thing called reality.
The Buccaneers aren't a much better team, though.
They're
I'm just saying much better, but
I'm just saying Saints, they've lost every single game.
We gotta be we can't be as hard on Will because remember we all picked the Colts when they went against the Saints.
True that. Yes,
I didn't.
Mm-hmm. Paul's back. Yeah,
I'd have to look at that again.
But this game's different. This game's much different. You have a at home for Cincy. You have a much better team. Since the Bengals are way better than the Buccaneers, way better. They've been to the Super Bowl. They've been to AFC Championship games. They've been farther in the playoffs. Yes, the Bucs have, but that was with Brady, not Baker. Right? So the Bengals are a much better rounded team on both sides of the ball than the Bucs are.
Yeah,
You know,
it'll be the
I
big
want to have
test.
faith that Stroud comes off of this win and they don't get big-headed because of it. I want to have faith that they, they keep level-headed, they go in there and they keep working and don't take it for granted, and they can go in there and produce. I don't think they're putting up 30, 39 points against the Bengals by any means.
Yeah.
I think the Bengals unfortunately win, for a lack of better words. I mean, Burrow's, especially after this win against Josh Allen last week, Burrow's on fire.
Mm-hmm.
It's starting to look like the old Burrow again, even with those lingering
I
injuries that don't seem to be there.
I told you last
Hey,
week.
I said it was a testament. I said if they beat Buffalo, I would agree. Buffalo was the challenge game for them.
Hey, we already knew we were ahead of the curve. We knew
Hey,
how it was gonna play out. I was never worried.
Right, sure.
Paulo
I
has
believe
the
that
script.
100%. He's Paulo's side-eyeing as he says
Look,
these
the
things.
script is just look at Cincinnati versus Buffalo the last couple years.
Yeah. But unfortunately, I do think Cincinnati still comes on top. But I don't think it's by more than a touchdown if they do win. Hopefully Houston does. If Houston does, I think if Houston wins, I think it's by a field goal. Which, my boy Agumba Wale, third string running backs out here kicking field goals and PATs.
Yeah.
So we just gonna
Speaking
keep
of
it
that,
going.
do we have any idea of what's going to happen with the kicking situation? Is he going to stay their
They
kicker?
signed. No, Houston did end up signing Matt Amendola today. It's either today or yesterday. So they did sign a kicker. I guess just being precautious about Kaimi. So there will be a kicker on the team, whether Kaimi's ready to go or if it's a game time decision and Amendola kicking instead of Agumba Wale. So, which we need a kicker more this game than any other game, last game. Right, because it's going to be a much better game, much closer game, in my opinion. So if Houston wins, it'll be by 3, But I think Cincy does end up winning. Just how hot they are, they're a much better team, much more well-rounded. They've played together a lot longer. Joe has some, a little bit better weapons out there on the edges. Jamar, Higgins, so it's going to be fun. I want to have faith. But it'll be a nail biter like this past weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to say the
Must
same
believe.
thing. Bengals by most likely a touchdown at least. I do want to say though, if the Texans do end up winning this, are the Texans a playoff team?
We'll pump the brakes there. We're not a Cowboys fan base over
whoa.
here. We don't start shouting things like
I'm just
that.
saying.
We take it game by game here.
You could say if
I
they
can't
beat
even
the
say
Bengals,
that.
you could say that they're good enough to be a playoff team, but it might not shake out that way
Yeah.
just because of
I'm
placement
saying
and all that.
that's what I'm meaning. Are they good enough to be a playoff team this year if they beat the Bengals? If they go out there and do to the Bengals what they did to Tampa Bay.
I wish, but at this point in time, if playoffs were to start today, I was looking at a chart and it's always like, hey, if playoffs start today, and that's a week-to-week thing.
Yeah, everybody
All
in the
four,
AFC North.
yes, all 4. You got to go. There's the whole division is in the playoffs. That's insane. But that's as of week 9. Obviously that can drastically change. Come week 18. But I wouldn't say that this year they're a playoff team. I think they have the makings. They're getting better. They're building. It's a lot of fresh pieces. Head coach, quarterback, receivers, stuff like that. Defensive players. Next year, we'll see what happens. How this year ends. If we finish over 500 this year, or even at 500, I have a lot more faith that next year they for sure can be a playoff team. I'm not talking AFC Championship, but at least make that wild card round.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick the Bengals in this matchup. I like the Texans. I was impressed by what they did last week, but even though the Texans and Stroud were able to run like a 40-second drill down there and win that game, it still came down to that. And I don't think you're gonna have that opportunity with the Bengals this week. As good as the Texans have looked in some games, like the Bengals, that's the big leagues. That's a Super Bowl contender right there, and I just don't think it's gonna shake out in the Texans' favor. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout or anything, but I'll take the Bengals.
Well, I think I'm going to be the odd man out here
Oh, he's taking
because
the Texans.
I'm taking the Texans, but only
Oh,
by
Lord.
3. And I'm not going to say it's going to be a shootout because it is the Bengals. I mean, it could be if both offenses are just skyrocketing, but I'm going to keep it a little more realistic, but I'm still choosing the Texans, but only by 3. I think the Texans they really impressed me after last week. And I know they've had their struggles this season, so they're not perfect. They're not quite there yet in terms of playoff contention, but they are working towards it. I really think they're going to give the Bengals a run for their money. And if it comes down to it, I think the Texans are going to drive down the field and get a game-tying field goal. That's just my gut telling me this. So give me the Texans by 3.
All right. Next up, we have the 49ers and Jaguars. Oh, boy.
Mm-mm-mm.
Will the 49ers bounce back after the
Yeah.
terrible events that transpired before?
They've got everyone back. Debo will be back. So, I mean, they've lost every game without Debo, and they looked unstoppable before. So maybe.
Let's also
Well.
mention that they have a new defensive playmaker in the mix now with Young.
Yep.
I want to pick the 49ers in this, but I'm just unsure at this point. Like, I don't know
Well,
if I can put full confidence in them after the past few weeks.
Well, if we're gonna be a little bit honest here, the Niners did get a week off, so maybe they might be a little more healthier this coming week. Now, I don't know what the status of everyone's health currently is for the Niners, but if the Niners, as we've always said, with them can remain healthy, then we've seen what they can be: a dominant force, dominant defense, explosive offense, unstoppable on all phases of the team. So if pending how the Niners are right now, because they've suffered some pretty significant injuries to running back, receiver, maybe some O line, maybe some defense here and there. I mean, who doesn't suffer injuries? But anyway, I think this game will be close. But pending the injuries, that the Niners have, I may just end up taking the Jags on this one, just because. Yeah, I think I'm just take the Jags on this one, but by 7.
Interesting.
I think. Yeah, I know what I just said a moment ago. It sounded like I was about to favor the Niners here, but at the same time, I don't know what the status of the Niners is. They lost 2 straight entering the bye week. How do they bounce back from this? Like, do they get back to their explosive offensive ways and shut down defense, or do they not? It's really up in the air with those guys.
Yeah, I don't know, like, who I can take in this one, because both teams have been kind of struggling recently. Trying to pull up the games from this past week here, if it will load. But
Well, the Jaguars were on bye this past week.
yeah, you're right. I'm specifically
Oh, so
looking.
both
I
teams were on bye week.
believe.
Okay.
Yeah, the Jaguars before their bye week they played against the Steelers, who
They didn't look dominant against the Steelers. They won that game, but they didn't look.
yes,
It wasn't
exactly
perfect.
exactly my point. Now the question is, them also off their bye week with the 49ers, I believe. Yeah. Are they going to be better after that? Because I definitely think the Niners have a better defense than the Steelers did. And if their offense can roll better, everybody should be rolling better than the Steelers. The Steelers' offense is not very good. Kenny Pickett, how many games now has Stroud played, Will, in the NFL?
This was 8.
Yeah, 8 games it took him to throw more touchdowns than Kenny Pickett in his NFL
played, and
career.
Pickett's played
Wow.
in 21 games. 13 more games and has thrown less touchdowns but more interceptions.
Mm.
That's the Steelers offense for you.
That's the
Uh,
Steelers quarterback for you.
I think I'm taking the Niners in this one. Just because of that fact, I don't know if Jacksonville was only able to put 20 and win by only 10 against the Steelers, I don't think they're gonna beat the Niners, especially if they're fully healthy.
I'm also gonna take the Niners. I feel like this is their bounce back. When they had all their offensive weapons healthy, they were undefeated. And now that they've got them back, I feel like they've had an extra week of rest as well. I feel like they're gonna bounce back. Jacksonville is a good team, and I think they'll keep it interesting. But I'm trying to think of a game this year where Jacksonville looked like dominant. Even when
Well,
they
they did.
played us, like we still were what in a one-score game at
Yep.
the end of the
Mhm.
day.
And they got blown out by Houston. They lost by 20 points to a Houston team that's trying to find itself and go through a rebuild process. How do you let that happen? And then you're going to go play the Niners and expect to win, whose defense is much better than Houston's by far. Even with D'Amico and a few people leaving, like Jimmy Ward in that secondary, they're still dominant.
Yeah, and I agree with Jose. I think Chase Young is going to is going to bolster that defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it'll be an interesting game, but I think the Niners come out on top.
If you
Yeah.
want to see what it's gonna be like for him and Boza to be on the same line again, go look at Ohio State from a few years ago. That was basically what you're gonna see, I think.
Yeah, and it's insane to think that Debo went out on the opposite side of the ball, right? And you wouldn't think that they would continue to lose games just because an offensive player went out. But like they say, defense wins. Defense wins these games. And yeah, they've lost some games too. They lost to the Bengals. But why? So how does Debo going out affect the defense? But it affects it because the offense just could not stay on the field. You're
Yeah,
missing a big weapon. You're putting way too much workload on Christian McCaffrey who's injured. He got hurt that Cleveland game.
yeah, he wasn't
Um,
100% either.
yeah, the last 2 games he hasn't been, and he took a major workload in Carolina. And then you send him over to San Fran and expect him to carry that same workload continuously week in and week out. I think that's going to help. Like Jose and Paulo were saying, I think having Debo back, keep that offense on the field longer. Your defense will be more well rested throughout the game to make stops. To keep them in a much closer game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I don't think they'll blow out Jacksonville just because of how Jacksonville's offense is, and they have a pretty decent defense themselves. I think they only win by a touchdown. The Niners only win by a touchdown. I don't think it'll be anything spectacular. I think Debo's going to get back into the groove after being off for a few weeks. But I think this is going to be a pretty good game for both teams. Playoff wise, to look ahead into the future of playoff possibilities for them and where they'll land.
Yeah.
You know what? I think I might change my mind on this
Nope,
matchup.
nope, you don't get to. No, you don't get to listen to the three of us just talk and be like, you know what? They make a very compelling argument, Your Honor. We would like to plead guilty at this point. No.
I mean, that's what I did. Last week I think with the Giants and Raiders. They'll change my
Oh
mind.
yeah,
That's true.
Hey, you should have
And look
stuck
what
with
happened.
the Giants.
yeah.
What do
Anyway,
you mean?
All right. Moving
Why
on,
would
we
you have
got.
stuck with the Giants? They lost.
So he
Yeah.
could lose.
Oh.
Shut up, Paulo.
and he thought the Giants would win because of Daniel Jones, and
No.
look what happened.
Yeah, Daniel Jones
Went back
gone
out.
Nah.
indefinitely.
Yep.
Well, I
Danny
didn't.
DeVito's
I don't think
nephew's
we knew
playing.
if Jones was supposed to be back that week when we recorded.
We
I don't
did
think they
not
did.
because I
We
read
didn't.
it that night after we recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Paulo just wants me to lose at something after I beat him twice in fantasy.
Ah.
Yeah,
There you
fire.
go.
it is what it is.
All right. Next game up, we got Packers Steelers. Honestly, I think the Steelers win this one off defense.
Yeah.
I
Steelers,
don't
yeah,
disagree.
the offense isn't great, but the defense is. I mean, the Packers have been struggling hard this year after a solid 2-0 start to the season. I think it was a 2-0 start. I could be wrong, um, but anyway, the Packers just they're not impressive, and the Steelers defense is a force to reckon with. There's just no way that Jordan Love and company can just move the ball on those guys. There's just no way. I think the Steelers are going to make life hell for the Packers, and the Steelers are just going to take this game away. I'm not going to say that the Packers win by double digits, but I could see the Packers winning by 10, and that's only if Kenny Pickett gets his
You mean the
connections going
Steelers?
early.
Yeah, you're confusing teams here, brother.
Wait,
You
what?
gotta calm down.
You
You gotta
said the
reel it back
Packers.
in.
Did I
And then
say
you said
Packers?
Kenny
Oh,
Pickett.
Yeah.
my bad. Excuse me.
Slow
If
your
the
roll.
Steelers offense can get things rolling early on offense, then Steelers easily win this game. With the defense just manhandling the Packers.
I
So,
want to add that I don't think this is going to be a very high scoring game. I think
oh
like,
no, it's definitely not high
we
scoring.
might be going into like 10-13 territory here.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm gonna agree with the Steelers winning. But as far as the Steelers defense being a force to be reckoned with, I wouldn't necessarily say that by any means. Yes, they're one of the better defenses in the league. They got 30 points, got put up on by the Niners, 22 by the Browns, even though the Steelers won. The Texans put up 30. Once again, a team that's in a rebuild with young players, young coaches. They barely beat the Ravens by a touchdown. Same thing with the Rams, and then lose to Jaguar and barely beat Tennessee with a rookie quarterback again. They've got a rookie quarterback and only win by 4. So I think they have pieces, and that's what people are looking at. They're looking at like who they have defensively and saying it's a force to be reckoned with, but they just haven't shown anything to like really prove that. They're not getting shutout games. They're not having these low
I get
scoring
that.
games per se,
I get
but they
that.
still have a pretty good defense. So I
Yeah,
couldn't
they
say
have a
like
pretty good defense, but
a
they're going
force
up
to be
against an
reckoned with.
offense that's not great either.
Uh, yeah, look, Houston, Tennessee. Like that's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah,
you're
but
barely
the
beating
thing
these
is,
teams and then losing to these teams.
I'd
I would
take
take
Houston's
Houston's
offense over
offense.
Green Bay.
Yeah,
Like everybody
exactly.
except for
Yeah.
maybe the Titans.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at is just these teams that they're playing and beating by 3 to 7 points or losing, getting blown out by is just kind of concerning how they go back and forth on a week-to-week basis. But I do
Yeah.
agree they'll win. I don't think that defense is quote unquote a force to be reckoned with.
No, but
I think
That's fair.
there are
I'm
players
not
on
saying
there that are a force to be reckoned with for sure. Individual players,
Yeah.
but not the whole defense.
yeah, that's what I was trying to say. It's like they're not the best defense in the league or anything, not even close. But they're enough to give a struggling Packers offense, trouble.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
gonna take the Steelers as well. I don't really have much faith in the Packers. The Packers like started off looking like they were gonna be pretty good and then just kind of fell off. And for as much problems as the Steelers offense has had, Deontay Johnson looked good last week, and so there's that.
hmm Yeah, he's been looking really good lately. And I know from experience because I have him in one of my fantasy leagues. He's done very well, and he's like averaging almost 50 points a game in terms of fantasy points. Now, of course, all leagues are different in scoring wise, but it seems like the Kenny Pickett and Deontay Johnson connections is pretty steady at this point. Now, could he do even better with a better quarterback? Yeah, totally agree. But it like I said earlier, if they can establish that connection early on, then they have a high chance of easily winning this game without any struggle.
Yeah. Let's move on though. Next up, we got Titans Buccaneers. Oh, I just lost my pen.
Oh. Buccaneers Titans. Battle between two very mid teams.
I don't think the Buccaneers defense is as good as the Steelers, honestly.
No, nowhere close. Honestly, I think the Buccaneers defense has actually regressed after the Tom Brady years, because the Titans aren't anything to write about either. And I don't know. Do we know if Ryan Tannehill is playing this week?
He has
No,
been
Will
benched.
Will Levis
Yep.
is the
Yeah.
number one.
Levis is QB
Number
one.
one. Okay. All
Tannehill
right.
will
Well,
be the backup.
If you ask me, I think the Titans are going to win this if they can. If they can play like they did a couple weeks ago with Hopkins getting that connection with Levis, I think they should win by at least a touchdown.
yeah, and after seeing the Buccaneers struggle to shut down C.J. Stroud last week, I could see them struggling against Will Levis this week. And Will Levis is like not anywhere close to C.J. Stroud's level at this point as a
Yeah.
rookie. But we've seen Will Levis play well against the Falcons. He did okay against the Steelers for the most part. He didn't win the game, sadly, but it is what it is. I think the Buccaneers have a much far less scarier defense compared to the Steelers. So I feel like the Titans could definitely win this game if they get their offense generated
Yeah.
fast enough.
I have to say though, the Buccaneers, the loss from the past couple weeks, they are not on the offense. The Buccaneers' offense is doing just fine.
Mhm.
It's their defense. Their defense
Oh,
is
I
not
agree.
doing them any favors.
Because
Like
even in that
Baker-
game against Houston, like Baker's not throwing the picks that people expected.
No, Baker's
yeah,
having
he's
a
thrown a
really
few-
good year.
He's thrown a few picks, obviously, but I mean, compared to what he did in Cleveland and then followed up shortly in Carolina, just I think maybe he's just kind of he's doing a lot better than what was expected of him for sure, based on the past couple years. So I mean, even against a Houston defense that has some pretty decent, defensive backs, not a single pick, not nothing at all from them. But I think it'll be good. I'm gonna side with Tampa Bay though. It's a home game. They're coming off of a loss, a terrible loss to Houston, just with 40 seconds left in the game to march down and score like that. I think that's gonna be kind of fueling their fire to win at home. I think they'll be able to stop. I think they'll be able to stop Levis. Just because doesn't have as much experience as Stroud. He's only started 3 games. This will be game 3.
Yeah, this will be 3.
So he's going up against a rookie that is a little more inexperienced than Stroud was, who had started all 8 games there. But I don't think Tampa Bay wins by anything major. I think they win by a touchdown.
Yeah.
Okay,
Go
that
ahead.
was weird.
We're
Yes.
just kind of waiting. Go ahead,
Go
Paulo.
ahead, Paulo.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I can see this game going either way. I'm gonna pick the Titans anyway, even though like the Bucks do have like a 50-50 shot at this game, honestly. I'm gonna pick the Titans. The Bucks defense isn't good, but their run defense is. So if they can shut down Henry, that's a problem. But like you said, Will Levis and Hopkins had that big game 2 weeks ago. And I really think that the Titans, like they almost saw a win last week, similar to the Bucks. But I think the Titans are gonna buckle down and get this one. The
just wanna
Bucks are a
point out-
good team. I just don't believe in them.
Yeah, I just want to point out real quick that these 3 are gonna pick against the Bucks, obviously because their Saints are in the same division as the Bucks. They don't want them to win, and obviously I'm gonna pick against the Titans, as the Titans are in the same division as the Texans. So this is gonna be a very
I'm genuinely
split-
not showing any bias with this one though. Like,
I'm
Yeah,
not.
believe
I'm
a
not
word you
picking.
say.
Okay, you want to know? You know what? You want to know what it really is? I'm not picking against the Bucks because they're in our division. I'm picking against the Bucks because 2 weeks ago the Titans had a really good win with like 3 DeAndre Hopkins touchdowns, and the
Mhm.
Bucks haven't won in like several weeks.
Yeah.
They haven't won since they beat the
Not
Saints
to
at home.
mention the team that the Titans beat also beat the Buccaneers.
Yeah, the Falcons. Yeah.
So this really isn't about picking against the Bucks just because they're in our division. It's
If you say
because
so.
they just haven't won. Like that's the bottom line. The defense has pretty much failed them. Their offense has been decent. I wouldn't say elite, but they're decent. So it's like I can't pick the Bucks just because their defense lets them down, and just like how
Yeah.
they let them down last
I'm
week
gonna
against
be
Houston.
100% honest with you here. I think if the Buccaneers defense was good enough, like right now, they'd be running away with this division.
Oh, definitely. Like you would think the Bucks defense wouldn't change much after Tom Brady left, but it just seems like they regressed. And
I mean,
I just
they've
don't have
also
enough
lost
faith in
some
them.
defensive players, though. You got to imagine they've gone to other teams. They've retired the same time that Brady left. And they
Yeah,
didn't
but
really make any big signings, nothing big in the offseason to, recover from the people that did leave.
well, still, either way, I still don't have enough faith in the Buccaneers for this one.
All right. We are moving on now. Lions Chargers.
I got a sense my force sensitive tinglings are tingling, and I feel like
That was
that
a
made no
sentence.
that made no sense, but whatever. How about this? My football senses are tingling, and I think that this is gonna be a shootout because both teams have a really good offense. You have the Lions with Jared Goff, Saint Amon-Ra Brown, and other players as well. I can't remember. And then you got the Chargers with Justin Herbert, and then you got Austin Eckler, and then Keenan Allen. Oh man, this could be the game of the week, honestly, because we're talking like offensive firepower going against each other. Now, of course, the question is whose defense is going to come out on top. Personally, I think the Lions defense is better than the Chargers by maybe inches. Because the Lions have had their moments, like for example against the Ravens when they got blown out badly, and then against Seattle, which they lost that one too. Yeah, so it just comes down to which Lions defense are we gonna see here. So I'm gonna pick the Lions, but this game is gonna be a shootout, very close. It wouldn't surprise me if it hits overtime, honestly, but I'm gonna pick the Lions by 7 in this matchup.
All right. This is a tough one for me. I'm favoring the Lions a little bit just because we've seen them play really good teams, but the Chargers, I'm not counting them out of it. I'm gonna pick the Lions by 3, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers can keep up and win this game.
Yeah, I think Chris made pretty good points. I mean, you have two high-powered offenses. They both have great receivers. Running back, committee is good. Uh, I think it'll be a shootout, honestly. I think, just like Chris said, it's whose defense is gonna step up and make the big plays and make the stops that are necessary. Which could be a game of field goals, honestly. If they come down to it, it really could be. Uh, but I think I'm gonna say Los Angeles. I think the Chargers win this at home. As much as as good as Detroit has been, even though my boy Sam Laporta is best rookie tight end of the year right now. I still think the Chargers end up winning this one at home.
All right, Paulo.
I am picking Detroit.
Yep.
I think Detroit is just an all-around better team, especially on defense. The Chargers had a big game on defense against the Jets, but we're talking about a very different offense they're going up against. I don't know. Like the Chargers have a
I
good pass rush with Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, but that's about it.
I agree 100%. I'm not basing it off of the Jets by any means. Like you said, it's the Jets. It's Zach Wilson. You know,
Yeah.
there's nothing about the way the Chargers played against the Jets surprised me whatsoever. I'm not going off of that at all. I just think the way that offense is playing, I think they're playing at a little bit higher level than Detroit is, and in my opinion, especially with having uh, Eckler back in the backfield again, it's just making a
Yeah.
world of difference. That's
One
just insane.
one thing I will say about that is that Detroit's run game has been a little bit better than the Chargers ever since Eckler's returned. Eckler hasn't really been having his best games against tough defenses. Like
Mhm.
he didn't do much against the Jets. He did score those touchdowns, I think 2 touchdowns. But if you look at his yards, like they had to get down to the red zone through the air. They couldn't run it down there. So maybe that will factor in.
And in my opinion, I think part of that goes to they're kind of they're trying not to give him a massive workload and overwork him, coming off the injury. I think they're trying to slowly ease him back into it. Not way too heavy on him when you have the receivers that you have that they have in particular. Just trying to get him back into the groove of things. Or it could be that, like you said, that the injury could be hurting him more than we think. But you're right, 14 carries, 47 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So, I mean, it came down to they had not even that many more passing yards. They only had 107 passing yards for the game against the Jets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next one here. We have Falcons Cardinals, and honestly, Kyler Murray's supposed to
Terrible.
be coming back for this,
Terrible.
and
He is the starter.
James Conner's also off injured reserve this week.
Yeah, we'll see if they activate
the
him.
big thing for me though is like this is gonna be Murray's first game back. Like, is he gonna be, you know, 100% on this? Like, is he gonna be the good Kyler Murray or the bad Kyler Murray? I think
Yeah.
I think there's too many like unknowns with this team after all the shakeups that have been going on lately. I'm picking the Falcons by like I want to say between 3 and 10.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna
go,
pick the
Chris.
Falcons as well. I hate picking the Falcons. Y'all know this, but just with the constant shakeups with the Cardinals, whether it's someone coming off injury or someone going on IR, with the quarterback changes they've had now. This is their third quarterback change coming up with Kyler Murray coming back into the picture. But with the Falcon, with the Cardinals, I just don't see him being the Falcons. I don't like the Falcons aren't that good either, but they definitely are better than the Cardinals because at least they have a better offense than the Cardinals, and the defense can only do so much. Plus,
Well,
I was rather impressed with Tyler Haneke, whatever his name is. He was pretty okay last week against the Vikings. Of course, the Vikings don't have a defense, so there's that. But I just feel like the Falcons are just a better team to pick in this matchup.
I don't know about the Vikings not having a defense.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, they've made improvements on that defense. It
Mm.
They
showed.
did, but
It's not the
like,
worst.
if we were making a tier list, it'd still be like D tier defense.
I mean, I say they're not a great defense still because you let the Falcons of all teams score a bunch of points on y'all still, and their offense is more of a run based offense than a passing offense. So if you let a team like the Falcons score all those points on y'all, even though you still took the W, that just tells me you're still not quite there yet.
I think I'm gonna take the Cardinals in this matchup, and I
Wow.
have very little faith in that, to be honest.
I bet.
Because a lot depends on if Murray plays well. We have no idea what this Cardinal team looks like with
Mhm.
Kyler Murray. But from what I read, James Conner is expected to play, I believe, with DeMarcado going on IR. Like, I'm pretty sure he's gonna play. So at the very least, they should be able to maybe like with the addition of James Conner, maybe just match like what the Cardinals have been able to do. Um, and yeah, the Falcons like do have a pretty good run game. But I don't know. I've just got a feeling. I got a feeling like people aren't gonna take the Cardinals seriously, and then they're gonna surprise everyone. So I gotta take the Cardinals here.
If the Falcons do find a way to lose against the Cardinals, you know what I got to do. I will be trolling the heck out of them. I will be posting memes left and right. It will be glorious.
So here's the thing. See, I've already read the script for this week.
Oh,
You guys
did you?
don't know.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, I see. I knew Kyler was coming back this week, which is why I had to talk to Activision. That's why they're dropping COD on the 10th, right? That comes out. It comes
Oh
out
my
in 2
God.
days, which is crazy. That's 2 days before game day. You know what I'm saying? So what's
Mhm.
Kyler really gonna be doing, right?
I think it is statistically proven that he plays
It
worse when
is,
a Call of Duty comes out.
You
I
know, and
think
I'm
that
just
is
saying,
a
hey,
proven fact.
that's what the script says. But no, with Kyler coming back off of injury reserve, James Conner coming back. I mean, what can we expect from them? I mean, they haven't played, or at least Kyle hasn't played in weeks. A lot longer than James Conner, because Kyler even sat out those extra weeks from being activated off of injury reserve after coming back. And then same thing for James Conner. Like, do you want to put a lot of workload on him? Do you want to re-aggravate that injury? Do you want to put them both in a situation where they're out indefinitely for the remainder of the season? Uh, those are going to be big questions for him. But I do like the Falcons in this matchup more, especially with Heineke at quarterback from what he did last year with the Commanders. Uh, much better weapons, much better run game for sure with a healthy Bijan compared to, healthy Bijan compared to James Conner coming off of IR. I think Atlanta wins, but I don't think it's by any more than a touchdown. If not a field goal. You know, I don't have a lot of faith in two of their key components coming off of IR. There's just so many questions
That's
there
the
and
main thing about my
concerns.
pick with this is like it's not
Yeah.
me putting faith in the Falcons. It's me not having like any like idea of what the Cardinals are going to be like.
100%. Especially if James doesn't wait that 21 days like Kyler did, coming off of injured reserve. Like if he's coming off and you're throwing him in right away, like that's a big concern.
Yeah. I think something that could be a factor, it might not be, but I like Arthur Smith as a head coach for the Falcons, but he has been I don't know, making not mistakes, but some of the things he's done haven't been probably what they should. Like Bijan isn't getting 20 touches a game, and he's definitely the best running back on the roster. Like, look at last week; they're in the red zone, whatever in goal, fourth and goal, third and goal, whatever. He gives it to Algier, and Algier doesn't make it. Should have been a Bijan run. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe some of these decisions could bite him in the butt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's move on to the next one here. And for this one, I have to speak on this for a second. We got Giants Cowboys. There's a reason.
God.
There is a
Oh,
reason
Lord.
that this episode's thumbnail is what it is. The Cowboys,
Yep.
you shot yourself in the foot.
Let's pump the brakes on that for a second.
Dak stepping out of bounds on the 2-point conversion. It would have been good if he didn't there.
That's one play.
That's just a
one
mistake,
play.
though. Like
That's one play.
I'm not getting.
Sanchez butt fumble. I mean, you got quarterbacks that are running out of the
Wait,
back of the
wait,
end
I'm
zone.
not done yet. I'm not
stepping
done
out
yet.
on a safety.
I'm not done yet. There was that on the 2-point conversion, marked down at the 1. They didn't get a touchdown off of that because I can't remember who it was that caught the ball. I think it was the tight end. His knee was down on the one, like inches
Yes.
away from the goal line.
Yep.
Ferguson.
That's
nothing-
that's
You're talking
another
about-
thing
no, you're
though.
talking
Like
about
he
the
was
last play of
already
the game?
going.
No,
He
I'm
was
not
being
talking about the last play of the game.
He was being tackled. He was tackled
Yeah, the
before
defender
the ball
was.
even made it to him. So you're
I'm-
going to say that's on Dak and the tight end? Not
No.
even close.
No, I'm not
That's
saying.
just it's just a thing that happened. I'm not blaming them for that.
I'm just saying there's that. There's the 2 point. That's 2 chances that they had to score that they missed. Then the Eagles get 3 or 4 penalties back to back. Moved the Cowboys downfield up to I think the 20 or the 10, something like that. Only for the Cowboys to then commit 2 penalties and move back to the 30. All that for Lamb to catch it and be 2 yards short.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
They choked.
How about
I
them
mean, yeah,
Cowgirls?
they could choke, but I mean, Philly still has, in my opinion, the number one, maybe you can argue the number 2 defense in the NFC, depending on your standpoint. So, I mean, to have the expectation that Dallas is going to go into Philly not at home, into Philly, and expect them to come out with a victory is a little hard. I mean, do you not expect that game
Yeah,
to go
to be
down
fair,
to the wire?
no one thought
to
that
be
would happen
grit
except
and
you.
grit?
I'm just saying.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well,
You
y'all
have
were
a
acting like it was going to be
defensive-
a blowout or something, and it was 5
No,
points.
we never said that. Now,
Who said that?
no, I said a touchdown. Yeah, I said a touchdown because yes, Cowboys have a good offense. They've got weapons. They've shown it. But you're going up against the number 1, maybe number 2. Like I said, depending on your standpoint on it, your stance, defense in the NFC, in the NFL as a whole, and you think they're gonna march in and win. That's just.
Hey,
I
was
mean,
close.
they showed out. They did what they did what everyone expected them to. Philly stood their ground. Yeah, they gave up points, but stood their ground when they needed to.
That tangent aside, does anybody else expect anything but the Cowboys to win this one?
I
Go
think
ahead.
the Cowboys are going to match or exceed what they did to the Giants earlier in the season.
Yeah,
because you're not even going against Jones this time. You're going against
No.
third string DeVito.
Yeah, that's Danny DeVito's nephew. Confirmed.
Confirmed.
Yeah.
Confirmed.
Why didn't I Photoshop his head on the quarterback? I should have Photoshopped Danny DeVito
yeah.
on there.
There's no other expectations for this game, and if the Giants fans, I mean, if you have faith, good, it's your team, but there's reality. There's reality that
Yeah.
it's probably going to be 99% another blowout where the Giants don't score.
I mean,
Yeah, you got Saquon and what else for this game?
Darren Waller.
No, he's on IR.
He's on IR.
You got Saquon and Graham Gano. That's your team.
And Darius
Giants
Slayton.
Giants fans are on suicide watch.
yes. I mean,
Yeah,
this is
someone-
there's a great possibility that this could be another shutout win for the Cowboys after the first time. I mean, it may not happen this time around, but it would be really, really pathetic if that did happen again.
I mean, we saw last week what the Raiders were able to do on defense to this team's offense. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
To a
I don't know how
mediocre
the
Raiders.
expectation can be any different.
Yeah,
A
there needs to be at
bloodbath.
least
That's what I
3 or 4,
expect.
yeah, there needs to be at least 3 or 4 ambulances on site for this game. It's the best bet, honestly. Fake an injury, DeVito, if you're smart, just limp off the field, do something.
What you gonna do
Get out of
then? Because
there.
Tyrod's
Hey.
not there either.
Get out of there,
Saquon can be the QB.
You
Live
got to
another
suit-
day in
Yeah,
this
you're
one.
gonna have to put him in a Wildcat or suit up Brian Dayball in a QB uniform.
For doing tush push all night long. That's what's going on.
Yeah, dude, I'm
What's
taking
that?
Dallas
It's
by
Eli
4
Manning with a
touchdowns.
steel chair.
Yeah. Yeah, I
I'll
agree with
do-
Paul.
wait.
I say 3. I say 3 touchdowns.
I'll one up y'all. I'm doing 5.
Because
Oh,
there's
geez,
always that
God.
chance. There's just
Yes.
always that chance that Dak just has a Dak game. Not saying it's gonna happen, but we all know that Dak can just have one of those games where he's missing receivers for whatever reason, no matter the team, whether it's a top team, mid grade, or one of your bottom teams. It happens. We've seen it happen. The Arizona game, Let's be honest. But I say at least 3 touchdowns for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement on this one.
Oh
Moving
yeah.
on, though, we
Easily.
have 3 games left. Last one for the Sunday afternoon games is Commanders Seahawks. I don't know what to do with this. I really
Seahawks got
don't.
manhandled last week. uh, but
This is a tough one.
yeah, and this game could go either way. Honestly, I mean, the Seahawks got destroyed last week, but they could have their bounce back game against the Commanders, and the Commanders just gave up pretty much their entire defense to either to the Niners or the Bears or somebody. But it's just I could see the Seahawks winning this. I think I have more faith in the Seahawks winning this because I think they still have a better offense than the
same
Commanders.
here.
The Commanders' offense still isn't good enough. At the same time, I don't expect the Seahawks to have another dud game like they did last week. So I'm going to take the Seahawks by at least 7 in this matchup.
I'll take the Seahawks as well. I'm kind of counting out last week because it was against the Ravens. Like we saw what the Ravens did to Detroit, but I still think Detroit's a really good team. So I mean, the Ravens. I think that was more about just how good the Ravens are than how bad the Seahawks are. So I think the Seahawks can still get this win. The Commanders' defense took a hit. They traded away 2 of their better defensive players, if not their 2 best. So we'll see how that goes. Sam Howell has been playing surprisingly well, but I don't know. I've got more faith in the Seahawks. Like I know who the Seahawks are, and the Commanders are kind of up and down at times, and so we may get one of their down weeks this week. Who knows?
Just leaves Will.
No, I agree. I think even though they lost 2 massive pieces of that defense, and yes, even though it was the Patriots, they still managed to beat them. They kept it close against Philly in both games this week. They've had some pretty good games where they've kept it close and they've won. I mean, their worst games were against the Bills, where they got absolutely blown out, and the same thing for the Bears. But I still think that the Seahawks have a much better offense, better weapons at least, than what Sam Howell has to work with. Like he just has a much better receiving core of veterans to work with. Gino does, so I think they win. But I wouldn't be surprised if somehow the Commanders find a way to win by a field goal. I would not be surprised at all. I really wouldn't. And the way they've been playing, and the same thing goes for Seattle. The way they've been playing lately, they looked great last year. Just out of nowhere. But they're definitely not the same team.
Nope. We're all in agreement on that one. Next up, I believe this is Sunday night. Jets, Raiders. Why?
Yes.
Why is this
Yeah.
the Sunday night game?
I don't know
Elite.
what they were thinking.
Why wouldn't you like? Pretty much any of these other games would have been better to put for Sunday night. Almost any matchup here on this list would have been better than the Jets and Raiders.
Yeah, because honestly, I want to say I don't see the Jets winning this game.
I do.
Do you though?
actually,
After this
I
past
do.
week,
I do. I do
'Cause I-
based on defense.
Exactly.
Based on
But
defense.
see, that's what I thought
I see
last
it.
week. That's what I thought last week, though, because when they went up against the Chargers, I thought the Jets'
Yeah.
defense was going to be good enough to slow down the Chargers. But look what happened.
Well,
Yeah,
the
but the
Chargers-
Chargers had a much better
Yeah.
offense.
I was about to say.
The defense,
yeah,
yes,
the Raiders'
defense is
offense
good.
didn't look too shabby though this
Yeah,
past
but
week
not-
with Aiden
not getting-
O'Connell and new head
Not
coach.
getting Devontae Adams active is hurting them. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's just a miscue between him and Adams. That he's a rookie and he's trying to learn and develop. But that is a major disconnect. And for the Raiders to win, for a chance to win this game against that defense, they have to find a connection. them to. They have to. That is your deep threat. That is your big target. That's your big guy on the outside to go to.
Mm,
I
I don't know. I if see, I just don't have enough faith in the Jets right now because after I thought the Jets defense would be good enough against, yeah, I get the Chargers offense is way better than the Raiders offense, but at the same time, I just feel like the Raiders just might take this one away, but it ain't gonna be by a blowout or anything like that. It'll be at least by 3. I just feel like if the Raiders find that same kind of offense consistency with this game in this game, then they could easily win this one. But this, I don't know. I just can't pick the Jets in this one. I have to go with the Raiders by 3.
I'm gonna go with the Raiders as well. Like the Jets are one of those teams where it's tough to count them out because of their defense. And if Zach Wilson has a good game, then they do have like receivers and running backs that can get you a win. But the
Yeah,
Raiders just looked really good last week under not only just under Aiden O'Connell, but under their new head coach. And I've been reading stuff like they believe in their new head coach and they really like him. And I don't know.
at the
I don't
same
know if
time,
y'all saw it, but Robert Saleh after their loss to the Chargers was asked why they keep starting Zach Wilson, and this man literally said, "I plead the fifth." So I don't believe in the Jets enough to I don't know,
at the
like
You
at
know,
the
it,
same
it
time, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but at the
no, go
same
ahead.
time, Zach Wilson struggled against a Chargers defense that has not been very good this
well,
season.
we all know Zach Wilson's nothing special at this point. He's not the answer for the Jets.
Yeah. I mean, the Chargers do have a good pass rush, though. And I think,
And
like,
that's the
for
thing.
as bad as the Raiders are, like, Max Crosby is a good pass rusher. Like, if they've got anything on defense, it's pass rush.
I oh god, I think I might have to change my answer here again.
Oh my
Oh, dear.
God.
Wait. I'm
It's
I'm
been
just
swayed.
now. I'm just now. No, y'all aren't what swayed me. What swayed me is this. Go back to the game of the Giants and Jets. What was the score of that game?
13-10.
And won by the Jets. And then go to this past week, Raiders Giants. What was the score of that one?
Yeah, I don't know. But
30 to
they
6.
stomped. Yeah.
I think based off of that, because I completely forgot about this before we started talking about this game. If the Raiders can do that to the Giants, who held the Jets to 13 points, which that game went into overtime, I don't see the Raiders having too much trouble. I don't think it's going to be by as much as they beat the Giants by, but I think I'm changing my answer here. I'm going Raiders.
So this is the second week in a row that you've not picked the Raiders and then picked the Raiders.
Yes, because I was not thinking properly.
I don't think I'm gonna change my answer. I mean, yes, Zach Wilson is not end all be all, you know, the man per se, but I mean, he has terrible games, but we've seen him when he has good games, right? And if that defense can alleviate that pressure, which I believe they can, uh, based on the playmakers that they have and what they have done this season, I still think that they can go in there and get a win out of this, and not by 10, 15, 20 points. I think they win by a touchdown, if not just a field goal. But I still think that they can go in there and get a win out of them,
That's
especially with
fair
their
enough.
pass rush. Especially with their pass rush. I mean, they do have a very good pass rush defense. But that's the thing. He can. We know how he did it last year. He looked good, and then he had terrible games, and kind of same this year. Like he's not the answer by any means long term for New
No.
York, but he has his moments. He really does where he can get in there and he can get things done. But it'll be close. I think it'll be real close. But I'm still gonna stick with them just because I plead the fifth. That's what we're doing here.
That's fair enough. The Jets are kind of like it's tough to count. Like even if you think they're gonna lose, it's tough to count them out just because the defense and
Yeah.
like the offense can have good games.
The unpredictability.
That's exactly what it is. I mean, unpredictability is they start off the season by beating the Bills. I mean, who calls that? And I mean that went
Yeah.
into overtime.
Not to
They kept
mention
it
the
close with
Eagles.
the Chiefs. They kept it within a field goal to the Chiefs. They go out and beat Denver. Zach Wilson beats Russell Wilson at home, right? They go out, beat the Eagles like Jose by a touchdown. Yeah, they had a rough week last week against, or 2 weeks ago against the Giants, which, once again, we know what Zach Wilson can do. They only put up 13 points. That goes to show. But you put up 20 against the Eagles, 31 against Denver, and then last week, like I said, the defense is good, but they played Justin Herbert, who has more weapons. A little bit better weapons than what Zach Wilson has to work with. Especially getting Austin Eckler back, having a big running back. Yeah, the Jets do have Brees Hall and Michael Carter and Dalvin Cook, but Austin Eckler is a better running back than the three of those.
Yeah, I
In
wouldn't
my
count
eyes,
Cook in
everyone.
that. Cook ain't done jack this year.
Oh, and I'm talking not just this year, but past years as well. I still believe Eckler is the better running back out of any of those three. The other two need time to develop, but as far as I can, career-wise. But I think you can't count them out. It's literally they're 4-4. They're at 500. If they were 2-3, if they were 2-6, 1-7, I can see that argument. But they're literally at 500 without Rodgers, with Zach back there, because of the defense. That's why they're at 500 is because of the defense.
Same story as last year. Last year, that's what was keeping them in games, was their defense.
Yeah. You know how Rodgers is supposedly gonna come back like in the last few games of the season, or they're hoping for that,
Allegedly, yep.
and they're just trying to like hold out until then and hopefully like have a wild card spot. If they were really serious about that, what they should have done was go after Josh Dobbs before the trade deadline and make him your interim quarterback. Because I would feel so much more confident for the Jets if they had Josh Dobbs under helm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we cannot explain why they do the things they do. But let's move on now to the last game of the week. Monday night, we have the Bills and Broncos.
Easy. Not really easy.
I was
It's
about to
not.
say
It's
the
not.
Bills have been struggling.
It should be,
Yeah.
but it's not. Yeah.
Yeah. By all means.
Yeah, we've got
Yeah.
the Broncos, who seem to be on somewhat of a good streak here. They're doing decent.
Trending
And
upwards.
the Bills, as we know, Josh Allen playing to the caliber of the quarterback he's going against. So double Russell Wilson's essentially. I want to pick the Bills because I think they have a better offense, like overall. But as we saw with KC, despite the issues they had that week, the Broncos defense has been doing pretty okay. KC had, I believe we said it was 3 fumbles and 2 interceptions. If they can do that against, KC and Patrick Mahomes, what are they going to do to Allen?
See, I don't think you can really use that as a measuring stick though, because you can't. That's one of those things you can't just like ignore the fact that Mahomes was sick and it was in Denver and all this stuff. Like those things have to be factored in.
Mhm.
Like I don't
Yeah,
think that
but
game is
even-
indicative of power rankings or anything.
Even outside of the interceptions and the issues with Mahomes, there's still 3 fumbles.
Yeah, but wasn't one of those also Mahomes?
I don't know. I'd have to
Yes.
go back and
Yeah,
check.
Mahomes was one of the fumbles.
Well,
Yeah.
still
So
though.
I mean, if you fix Mahomes for that game, I think they still win even with 2 fumbles. Because if you take away 3 turnovers, then that's a big deal.
Yeah, because those turnovers could potentially turn into 3 or 7 points.
Yeah, but at the same time,
Potentially.
that was the second game that they played against the Broncos, and the first game it was still pretty close.
Yeah, but it's a divisional game. It's gonna be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think if the Broncos can, channel some of that energy into this, I think they might give them some competition here for the Bills. And at this point, though, if the Bills lose this game, do we think they're like out of the race?
No,
What?
not by any means. No,
Playoffs?
the Bills are 5-4. The Bills are 5-4. They're not out of the race. They'll be 5-5. They'll literally be at 500 halfway through the season. No, they're they're not out of the race by any means.
Yeah, no. I mean, yeah, sure, the Bills have struggled against just about everybody this season, but I still think they are the better team in this matchup. I,
They
yeah, the
should be,
Broncos,
in my
yeah, they
eyes,
should
but
be on paper they should be, but lately they have not. So I guess the bigger question would be which Bills team are we going to see? Are we going to see the dominant Bills team we've seen before, or we're going to see a struggling Bills team that either can or cannot put their opponents away,
yeah, are we
no
gonna
matter how
see?
good or bad
Are
they
we gonna
are?
see Week 1 Bills who got smacked by the Jets, or are we gonna see the Bills that played a couple weeks ago against Tampa Bay?
Yeah, exactly. So this, I got a feeling the Broncos are going to give the Bills a lot of trouble in this game, but I'm not going to pick the Broncos because I still don't have enough faith in them. I think the Bills defense should be able to keep things under control with against the Broncos offense. So, but of course, it just comes down to for the Bills offense to stop playing at the level of the opponent quarterback, especially at the quarterback position. So I'm gonna choose the Bills in this matchup, but it's only gonna be by 3.
I'm also gonna pick the Bills in this matchup. I think the Broncos definitely are gonna play them well. The Broncos have been trending upwards, even if it's not like 45 degrees upwards, but they're getting better. And even Russell Wilson, like it's more of like the team hasn't been good than Russell Wilson in particular has been not good. He's actually been like decent. Um, but I still think like the Bills are the better team. Um, and the Broncos are just kind of they're fighting for just some wins to prove that they're like still on the map. But the Bills are fighting for a playoff spot. So I feel like sooner or later, whether it's this week or not, the Bills are gonna buckle down and give it their all.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick the Bills, but I'm not going by more than 3. And that leaves Will.
Yeah, I think I think I'm gonna have to agree. The Bills, obviously, on paper, much better. But it really is gonna come down to if Josh Allen is gonna play like Russell, or if he's gonna play like the Josh Allen that we know he can play to, like live up to those expectations, slinging the ball downfield, making smart decisions, not throwing. The concerning part about him right now is he is on a 4-game streak where he has thrown at least 1 interception.
Yeah, it's like he's kind of reverting back to his old ways.
You know, is that the one? Or is he going to make it 5 weeks? Are we going to get 5 weeks straight with an interception, or are we going to get that Josh Allen like that we saw play Miami and just absolutely just decimate them? Which one are we going to get?
Yeah, I also want to point
I
out
think they win.
a stat that I saw earlier today. Josh Allen leads the league in interceptions since 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
He has 69.
Nice.
Nice.
Uh, yeah, I mean that's just going to be the major thing. Which one are we going to get? And it's at home for Buffalo, so that's always a plus when a team can be at home. Is always a good thing. 9 times out of 10. But I think Buffalo wins, but I think it's only by a touchdown.
Yeah. And may we pray that no one gets DeMar Hamlin.
Easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh.
And I think
Wait, why would anyone get DeMar Hamlin in this game?
you never know, Paulo.
Oh, just okay. So there's no reason you just happen to say that this week.
Yeah.
I'm saying that
Just
because
making
that's where the DeMar
unnecessary
ambulance
comments.
is.
You should have said it
Um,
last week when they went against Cincinnati.
I think we did touch on that last week, but I'm saying that mainly because Buffalo is where they have the DeMar ambulance.
I think that was actually discontinued because of the criticism.
Yeah,
of
it should
the
have been.
DeMar
It shouldn't. It
ambulance.
shouldn't have ever been a thing.
Yeah, like they should have. They should. You could honor him without making him like. I don't know. The ambulance is kind of like a double-edged sword.
Mm-mm-mm.
I can't get over that. Why? What made them think that was a good idea?
I don't know. I can see the vision. It just work out that way.
It seems like a very Michael Scott sort of thing, if you know my office
Yeah.
reference.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly what it seems like.
Michael
It's not
Scott
even,
thinks
like-
it's a great idea.
At face value, it's not even a bad idea. It's just the way that people perceive it.
But I think that about wraps it up for this week. Let's see. I believe next week we'll be back for the following week for the NFL, but after that is the week of Thanksgiving. I believe we
Yes.
said we're going to take a break for that week. We may have a little something, as three of us here are going to be going to Baton Rouge for the LSU and Texas A&M game.
Lucky bastards.
That is true.
Who
That
knows?
is true.
But I believe we will be taking a break Thanksgiving week.
Yes.
Paulo, do you want to
Yes.
take us out?
So I will do what you thought I was gonna do last week, and I didn't know what you
You're
were
a
talking
week
about.
behind. Get it
doesn't
together,
matter.
man.
Lord have mercy.
I don't want a lot for
Oh, God.
Christmas.